So, good morning guys. Let's continue our lecture for normocytic anemias. The last type of anemia that is subdivided based on mean cell volume. Okay, so these are the characteristic when you are dealing with normocytic anemia. No? Normocytic anemia. Now, if mag-base ka sa MCB, konting recall ha, that's around 80 to 100 femtoliter, no? The RBC are characterized having this normochromic coloration. So basically, normal po ang MCHC if you are dealing with normocytic anemia, no? There is normal coloration. Hindi apektado yung hemoglobin production, no? And even the size, no? May anemia ka, nahihirapan kang mag-deliver ng oxygen sa tissue, yung tissue mo nag-undergo ng hypoxia, pero yung size ng RBC mo normal naman. Okay? Normocytic anemia. Now, this can be subdivided depende sa resulta ng reticulocyte count, no? Unang-una, if you have normal or decreased reticulocyte count, para madali niyong tandaan guys, you have normocytic anemia na merong normal or decreased reticulocyte count. Ito guys, lahat ng condition na associated within the bone marrow. So si bone marrow ang problema. Or ang punto, sa loob pa lang ng bone marrow, nasisira na yung mismong mga precursor. Okay, kaya ka nagkakaroon ng normocytic anemia. Pangalawa, kapag ang resulta mo increase reticulocyte count. With increased reticulocyte count naman, usually ang problema dito is outside the bone marrow, no? Yes, normal naman si bone marrow mo. Yung mga precursor guys, nagmamature pa sa bone marrow and then lumalabas sila sa circulation as mature RBC. However, pagdating nila sa circulation, doon na po sila nagpuputukan. Doon na sila nasisira. Increased reticulocyte count, no? Sir, bakit? Bakit ganyan ng retics kapag hemolytic anemias? And bakit mababa ang retics, no? Kapag mga aplastic anemia. Guys, kapag mga aplastic anemia kasi, ang mababa talaga is yung mismong RBC, no? Mismong RBC precursor na ang mababa. Even the RBC progenitor, no? Progenitor, ano pa? Precursor. Or to be specific guys, para hindi na kayo malito, mababa talaga yung hematopoietic stem cell dito. Okay? However, if you have increased reticulocyte count as a result, pwedeng normal si precursor, normal si progenitor, and even your hematopoietic stem cell, normal. Pero paglabas ng RBC sa bone marrow, ayun, doon na siya nasisira. Okay? Bakit mataas yung reticulocyte count? Kasi nga, normal si precursor. Ano ba si reticulocyte? Di ba precursor siya? Okay? Bago ka magkaroon ng isang mature RBC, kailangan mo nang dumaan sa pagka-reticulocyte. Okay? By the way, kapag na-distinguish mo na, for example, yung type of normocytic anemia using your reticulocyte, and nakita mo na mataas nga yung reticulocyte count, you might be dealing with hemolytic anemias. Okay? Now, this can also be subdivided into intrinsic causes or extrinsic causes. Now, from the word itself, guys, tinawag po siyang intrinsic causes. Kasi ang problema is yung mismong RBC, guys. Okay? Pumuputok si RBC outside the bone marrow kasi nasa kanya yung problema. Pwedeng may problema sa RBC membrane, pwedeng may problema sa enzyme na nasa loob ng mismong RBC, or pwedeng si pasyente merong hemoglobinopathies. Okay? Okay. Now, when you say extrinsic causes naman po, ang problema is outside the RBC. Sir, paanong outside the RBC? Take a look of this, guys, no? For example, this is the RBC. Kapag intrinsic causes, andito mismo ang problema. For example, you don't have pyruvate kinase. Intrinsic causes. Kapag extrinsic causes, guys, for example, this is the RBC. may pyruvate kinase ka, may G6PD ka, tapos yung membrane mo wala namang problema, punong-puno ng lipids, punong-puno ng protein, etc. No? Pero may mga umaatake sa mismong RBC. For example, may biglang antibodies na nag-attach sa RBC. Pagka-attach ng antibody sa RBC, nag-lyse yung mismong RBC, nag-lead into hemolysis. Diba? E di hemolytic anemia. Extrinsic causes. Inatake ka from outside. Antibody lang ba? Pwede ring bacteria. No? For example, inatake ka ng bacteria. Okay? Inatake ka ng mismong mga complement, kaya nag-lyse yung RBC. Extrinsic causes. Okay? Okay. Ayan. Screenshot. Okay. Now, unang-una would be your aplastic anemias. No? Ano ulit ang retics kapag aplastic anemias? Decrease, 'di ba? Mababa ang reticulocyte count. Now, to generalize, no, para magkaroon kayo ng general idea with aplastic anemia. Ang nangyayari sa aplastic anemia is that nasisira yung bone marrow, no? There is destruction of bone marrow that leads to pancytopenia. Okay? Merong pong pancytopenia in aplastic anemia. When you say pancytopenia, lahat ng blood cell mababa. Now, using a bone marrow smear, using a bone marrow aspirate, usually, if you are dealing with aplastic anemias, you can actually see an architectural structure of hypocellularity. So, anong ibig sabihin ng hypocellularity? Mababa ang hematopoietic stem cell. Sino ba si hematopoietic stem cell? Si red bone marrow. Okay? Okay. And of course, reticulocytopenia. Yan ang mga classic na makikita mo, no, in cases of aplastic anemias. Okay. Now, your aplastic anemias can be inherited or acquired, wherein mas common ang acquired type ng aplastic anemias. Aplastic anemia, bone marrow failure. Unang-una, baka nasisira ang mga hematopoietic stem cell. The reason kung bakit ka nagpo-produce ng mga blood cell. Okay? Bakit sila nasisira? Pwedeng may tinetake ka na gamot, specifically antibiotics. By the way guys, ang most common cause ng acquired aplastic anemia would be the intake of chlorampenicol. No? Kaya nga hindi na binibigay si chlorampenicol ngayon eh. Kasi it can actually cause aplastic anemia. No? Masyadong matapang yung chlorampenicol. Actually, gagaling ka nga from infection, pero masisira naman yung bone marrow mo. So, wala din guys. No? Exposure to certain chemicals. Isa sa pinakasikat would be benzene, no? Si benzene, palagi nyo siyang ma-encounter sa histopath. Kasi benzene is an example of clearing agent. No? To be specific guys, it is a rapid clearing agent. Rapid. Literal na mapapabilis yung trabaho ni Medtech kapag gumamit siya ng benzene. Now, the only problem with benzene is that it can actually pose a risk for you to have aplastic anemias, no? Halos lahat naman po ng reagent sa histopath, guys, they are carcinogenic. Kung hindi sila carcinogenic, pwedeng mag-cause ng aplastic anemia, no? Kaya ingat-ingat kayo sa mga reagent dyan sa histopath, no? Even xylene, no? Yung ginagamit yung panglinis ng microscope, xylene, guys. Sa ko isusulat dito, xylene. Ayan. Methanol, ayan. Mga carcinogenic yan, guys. Yung methanol, yung malamig sa kamay. Ayan, mga carcinogenic yan. Radiation. O, eto, radiation, guys. Kaya common sa mga nagkikimo na minsan nagde-develop sila ng aplastic anemia, lalo na via radiation therapy. Viruses, guys, no? Infection with parvovirus. Specifically the B19 strain, no? It can actually cause aplastic anemia as well. Now, aside from that, pwede kang magka-aplastic anemia kapag nasira si microenvironment. Sino ba yung microenvironment na yan? Guys, that's your yellow marrow, no? Diba your bone marrow are composed of yellow and red marrow? Kapag nasira si yellow marrow, ang point kasi, wala nang susuporta sa mga hematopoietic stem cell na naki red marrow. 'Di ba? Kasi guys, yung yellow marrow nyo, mayaman yan sa macrophages, sa fibroblasts, sa mga WBC. Ngayon, anong ginagawa ng mga macrophages? They produce interleukins and growth factors, 'di ba? Ngayon, yung interleukins and growth factor na yan, tinutulungan ang hematopoietic stem cell para maging progenitor, di ba? And tinutulungan ng isang progenitor para maging isang precursor. And tinutulungan ang mga precursors na mag-mature para maging isang mature functional cell. Now, without your interleukins and growth factor, hindi po ito mangyayari. So, kung hindi ito mangyayari, guys, mababa ang blood cell. Kapag mababa ang blood cell, halos lahat ng blood cell mababa, di ba pancytopenia yon? Kapag may pancytopenia, it is related with aplastic anemia. So, that's the correlation, no? Okay? Okay. Pangatlo is, baka dahil nababarahan yung bone marrow. Anong bumabara sa bone marrow? Pwedeng fibrosis, no? Pwedeng mga sugat, pwedeng granuloma ang bumabara sa bone marrow. Pag nabarahan ng sugat and ng granuloma, yung mismong bone marrow, guys, di nawawala ng space si hematopoietic stem cell. Kapag nawala ng space si hematopoietic stem cell, di wala ka na ring blood cell. Pancytopenia, aplastic anemia. So, these are the causes, guys. Okay? Okay. Now, we have 3 different phases of aplastic anemia. Unang-una would be the onset of disease, no? During the onset of disease, pakitandaan nyo lang, yung mismong hematopoietic stem cell, nasisira siya ng immune system. Nagkakaroon ng overreaction, guys. Kasi for example, yung mismong virus nasa bone marrow. Ang gagawin ng immune system mo, magpapadala ng WBC sa mismong bone marrow. Yung WBC, magpuproduce ng madaming interleukins or cytokines, no? Magpuproduce siya ng cytokines. Yung mismong cytokines, guys, ang nagiging problema doon, hindi lang virus yung tinatamaan niya, pati yung mismong bone marrow, pati yung mismong hematopoietic stem cell tinatamaan. Okay? Okay. After that, yung pasyente pwedeng makarecover or pwedeng mag-progress into late disease. No? Depende yan eh. kung maayos yung self-renewal ng mismong stem cell. Kapag si pasyente hindi naka-recover, nag-progress into late disease, yung mismong aplastic anemia guys, maghahakot pa yan ng madaming sakit. Pwede siyang mag-lead into newer diagnosis. Most commonly nakikita in cases of acute myeloid leukemia. No? Pwede ka bang magkaroon si pasyente ng acute myeloid leukemia kapag hindi naagapan yung aplastic anemia. Okay, ayan no, pwede sa PNH, pwede rin sa myelodysplastic syndrome, and most commonly, AML. Okay? Okay. Now, we have your acquired type, acquired aplastic anemia. It can be idiopathic or it can be secondary to a certain disease. Most common findings na pwede mong makita is of course mga common sign ng anemia. However, for aplastic anemia kasi, it's more of chronic, no? Pwede siyang chronic, pwede siyang acute. Symptoms of thrombocytopenia may also occur, guys. Sir, what is thrombocytopenia? Mababang platelets. Sir, bakit bumaba ang platelets? Kasi nga, nasira si bone marrow. Okay? Tandaan nyo ha, na aplastic anemia, hindi lang RBC ang problema mo. Lahat ng blood cell na pinuproduce ni bone marrow, problema mo in aplastic anemia. Kaya nga, there is a presence of petachia, no? Mga maliliit na pasalang yan, guys. Ayan. Epistaxis, pagdurugo ng ilong, no? Mucosal bleeding, pagdurugo ng mismong gilagid. Menorrhagia, excessive menstrual bleeding. Halos lahat, guys, no, pwedeng makita. Now, in severe cases of acquired aplastic anemia, wherein sobrang baba na lahat ng blood cell, syempre, mababa din si WBC. No? Kapag mababa si WBC, pwede nang magsipasukan yung mga opportunistic pathogen. No? Kaya yung pasyente pwede nang magkaroon ng fever, bacterial, and even fungal infection. Okay? Okay. Now, these are the laboratory findings if the patient has acquired aplastic anemia. No? O, nabanggit na natin to kanina. Okay? No need to point out na naman, di ba? Pero kung talagang gusto mong malaman kung merong aplastic anemia si pasyente, edi you can actually confirm it using a bone marrow aspirate. Tingnan mo yung cellularity, guys, no? Usually kapag aplastic anemia, less than 30% yung hematopoietic stem cells. Okay, so let's proceed with the inherited type of aplastic anemia, no? Usually nakikita to sa kabataan pa lang. Pwedeng pagkapanganak ni pasyente or pwedeng bago mag-puberty stage si pasyente, no? Nakikita na yung mga physical characteristic and even hematological result ng mga pasyente. So, unahin muna natin yung tinatawag na Fanconi anemia, no? Guys magkaiba si Fanconi anemia and Fanconi syndrome. Huwag kayo mako-confuse. Kapag sinabing Fanconi anemia, that's a type of aplastic anemia. Kapag sinabing Fanconi syndrome, it's more of renal disease, ha? Kapag Fanconi syndrome, guys, no, to be specific, ang problema dyan is the general reabsorption ability of your kidney tubules. Hindi ka ba kapag reabsorb ng mahalagang substance, guys? Okay, yan ang problema in Fanconi syndrome. Magkaiba si Fanconi syndrome, magkaiba si Fanconi anemia. Kapag Fanconi anemia, it's more of hematology. Kapag Fanconi syndrome, it's more of AUBF. Ha? Okay. Oh, by the way, your Fanconi anemia, other name, congenital aplastic anemia. This result to the chromosome instability, ayan, which is characterized having aplastic anemia, abnormal physical feature of the patient, and cancer susceptibility. Ngayon, anong mga tatandaan nyo? Guys, yung mga taong may Fanconi anemia, maliliit po yung mga braso nila and halos bali-baliko yung mga daliri nila. No? There is physical malformation. There is skeletal abnormalities. Short stature, guys. No? Maliit. Okay? And actually, one of the pathognomonic sign of Fanconi anemia is the presence of this coffee-colored lesions, no? Coffee-colored lesions. Cafe oil spots. Okay, this is the pathognomonic sign. One of the pathognomonic sign of Fanconi anemia, no? Actually, mga taong may Fanconi anemia, no, hindi na sila tumatagal. No? Madali silang namamatay, guys. Okay. Common laboratory findings would include pancytopenia, reticulocytopenia, and hypocellularity. Ngayon, kung mapapansin nyo, mataas ang erythropoietin ng taong may Fanconi anemia. Ang nagiging problema lang is that yung mismong bone marrow mo or yung mismong receptor na meron ang precursor or progenitor hindi nagre-respond sa mismong erythropoietin, no? Hindi nila tinatanggap yung mismong erythropoietin. Okay? Okay. Now, sabi ko nga, pagkapanganak pa lang, obvious na yung mga sintomas. No? Mataas ang fetal hemoglobin, mataas din ang alpha-fetoprotein. No? Indicating problema na nangyayari noong nasa tiyan pa lang ng mother, yung mismong baby. Okay? Okay. You can also do chromosome breakage analysis. Siyempre, just to confirm kung talagang may Fanconi anemia si pasyente. Ito ang pinaka-confirmatory mo, guys. No? Chromosome breakage analysis. Genetic testing. Halos lahat naman, no? Ang pinaka-confirmatory is itong mga genetic testing or genetic analysis na to. Okay? Okay. So, that's Fanconi anemia. Next would be your, guys Fanconi anemia, lahat ng blood cell mababa. Okay? Not to be confused with pure red cell aplasia. Kasi in pure red cell aplasia, guys, ang apektado lang dito is the RBC. No? Ang problema dito is the erythroid precursor which leads to the decreased amount of RBC. Kaya nga kung mapapansin nyo, basahin nyo yung second paragraph. Severe anemia, usually normocytic, no? However, normal si WBC and si platelet count. Okay? It can be acquired or it can be congenital. Now, if this acquired, guys, no, more commonly, nakikita siya kapag si pasyente na exposed to certain drugs or chemicals. No? Particularly yung mga oxidizing agent, guys. Okay? Okay. Now, if this congenital, dyan na pumapasok yung tinatawag na Diamond-Blackfan anemia. Okay? Okay. Now, in Diamond-Blackfan anemia, it's a congenital erythroid hypoplastic disorder. Now, what's the classic sign of this diamond black fan, guys. The craniofacial dysmorphism, no? Ayan. And kung magbe-base ka sa laboratory findings, isa sa mga hahanapin mo would be the increased EPO and decreased CFUE, no? Kasi 'di ba guys, si erythropoietin uutusan niya si CFUE na ma-convert into precursor, 'di ba? Ang problema, yung mga receptor na meron si CFUE, hindi niya tatanggapin si erythropoietin. Okay? Kaya mababa ang progenitor, mababa ang precursor. O pwede ka rin tumingin sa WBC and platelet count, no? Iko-correlate mo lang lahat 'yan to diagnose diamond black fan anemia. Okay? Okay. Sometimes guys, there is severe macrocytic anemia, no? If the patient have this diamond black fan anemia. Now, to differentiate with Fanconi anemia, kasi sila naman palagi yung dinidifferentiate even in the board exam. Okay, hindi nakasulat. Pero, nakaitim na naman guys, ano. Pero ito ang pinakatitignan nyo dyan if you want to differentiate those two, no? Unang-una guys, you look for the presence of brown skin pigmentation, yung coffee colored lesions. Mas nakikita yon in Fanconi anemia. Okay? Okay. Pangalawa guys is yung onset of the disease. Sir, what's onset? No, hindi na nakalagay dito no, pero isulat natin. Onset of disease, kung kailan nakikita yung sakit, no? Usually guys, for Fanconi anemia, yung mismong sakit, no, nakikita yan before the puberty stage. Okay? For diamond black fan, habang baby pa si pasyente. Okay? Okay. Now, kung mag-base ka naman sa bone marrow biopsy, for Fanconi anemia, it is hypoplastic kasi lahat ng blood cell apektado, 'di ba? For diamond black fan, normocellular pa siya. Sir, bakit normocellular? RBC lang naman kasi ang apektado. Okay? Okay. Saan kaya may pancytopenia dito? Actually, in Fanconi anemia, no? Fanconi anemia lang may pancytopenia. In diamond black fan, walang pancytopenia. Okay. In terms of genetic studies, guys, alam nyo ba na in diamond black fan anemia, wala namang problema yan sa genetics, no? In Fanconi anemia, meron. Particularly, sabi ni Rodax, there is multiple chromosomal abnormalities if the patient has Fanconi anemia, no? For diamond black fan, wala guys. Okay? Okay, so that's how you differentiate those two. Next would be your myelocytic anemia. Guys, si myelocytic anemia, siya rin yung tinatawag na myeloid metaplasia. Siya rin po yung tinatawag na myelofibrosis. O ayan na, meron na kayong idea guys, no? Merong metaplasia sa mismong bone marrow. Ngayon yung metaplasia na yon nag-lead into the formation of fibrosis. Okay? Okay. O sir, ano pang keyword? There is infiltration of abnormal cells sa mismong bone marrow. Nababarahan yung bone marrow, guys. Ano yung bumabara? Pwedeng abnormal cells, pwedeng tumor, and then kapag tumagal yung pagkabara ng abnormal cells and tumor, it may lead to the replacement of fibrosis, no? Literal na tumitigas yung mismong bone marrow, guys, in myelocytic anemia. Kaya nga, minsan, it is impossible to do a bone marrow aspirate sa mga taong may myelocytic anemia. Tandaan nyo yun ha, it is impossible to do a bone marrow aspirate kasi masyado na nga pong matigas, no? Paano mo malalaman na may myelocytic anemia si pasyente? Kaya nga, on your peripheral blood smear, may hahanapin ka pong poikilocyte. Na kapag nakita mo si poikilocyte na yon, pwede mong masabi na si pasyente baka may myelocytic anemia. And that is your, hindi ko muna papangalanan, pero ganito yung pathophysiology niya. Yung RBC na yon, dumadaan siya sa mga narrow fibrotic sinusoids. Saan nakikita yung narrow fibrotic sinusoids? Sa mismong bone marrow. Pag dumaan siya sa masisikip na fibrotic sinusoids, nagiging mukha siyang luha. Teardrop-shaped RBC. Sino si teardrop-shaped RBC? The cryocytes. Okay. Now, due to the presence of fibrosis, guys, makinig dahil meron na ngang fibrosis, paninigas, yung mga macrophages mo, mag-a-attempt yan na sirain yung fibrosis. Okay? Kasi, para may mapaglagyan yung mga hematopoietic stem cell. So, magpuproduce sila ng madaming interleukins and cytokines. Ang problema, guys, kapag nag-release sila ng interleukins and cytokines, hindi naman masisira yung fibrosis. Ang masisira po would be the hematopoietic stem cell, no? Kasi excessive yung i-release nila. Excessive amount of interleukins and cytokines, which leads to the destruction of hematopoietic stem cell. Kapag nasira si hematopoietic stem cell, di bumababa si hematopoietic stem cell. Kapag mababa si hematopoietic stem cell, di aplastic anemia. That's why, in myelocytic anemia, there is aplastic anemia. Okay? Kopya muna. Tandaan nyo bakit nasisira yung hematopoietic stem cell? Unang-una, due to the fibrosis itself. Yung mismong fibrosis sumisira. No, yung mga bumabarang fibroblast, no? Pangalawa is due to excessive cytokines and growth factors. Ayan. Kopya muna. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. We have your hemolytic anemias. Guys, in hemolytic anemias, recall na lang tayo dito, no? Kasi most of them nabanggit na natin nung prelims and nung RBC abnormalities, no? Sabi ko nga sa inyo, when you say hemolytic anemia, ito yung mga pagdurugo na nangyayari outside the bone marrow, no? Yung lysis of RBC outside the bone marrow. Okay? So basically, yung bone marrow mo, magko-compensate yan. Nagkakaroon ng increased bone marrow activity. Okay? By the way, tapos na tayo sa aplastic anemia, guys, no? Tapos na tayo sa mga problema within the bone marrow. Dito naman tayo sa problema ng RBC outside the bone marrow. No, ganito natin siya aralin. Intrinsic causes ba or extrinsic causes? Guys, kapag intrinsic causes, most of them are inherited, na mamana po. Kapag extrinsic causes, most of them are acquired. Okay? Okay. So, simulan na natin. Unang-una, sa intrinsic causes would be your erythrocyte membrane defect. May problema yung RBC membrane, no? Yan, ang pinakasikat, guys, no? Hereditary spherocytosis. Guys, tandaan nyo si hereditary spherocytosis, isa siyang klase ng hemolytic anemia. Sige, recall tayo, 'di ba? May problema sa vertical interaction ng transmembrane protein and cytoskeleton. No, ngayon nabanggit natin no nung last discussion natin na dahil yon sa deficiency ng mga protein na to, spectrin, ankyrin, or BAN3, or protein 4.2. Ang pagkabanggit pa nga natin, isa lang sa mga structure na to ang mawala, masira, or magkulang, pwedeng si pasyente magkaroon na ng hereditary spherocytosis. Now, it is the most common membrane defect, guys, no? Even the pathophysiology, di ba, na-discuss na natin yon. And obviously, there is a presence of spherocytes on the blood smear, no? So, if we proceed to the laboratory findings, sometimes there is decreased MCB, lalo na associated with microspherocytes, no? O konting recall nga, bakit ulit nagkakaroon ng microspherocytes? Kasi yung mismong spherocyte, dumadaan sa spleen. Dahil hindi nga siya makapag-deform, mabagal yung pagdaan ni spherocyte sa spleen. O, sabayan nyo ako ha, kasi naturo ko na to ng RBC abnormalities. So, sasabayan nyo na lang ako. Spherocytes, ang bagal niya sa pagdaan ng spleen. Bakit mabagal? Kasi hindi na nga siya makapag-deform. Bakit hindi siya makapag-deform? Kasi kulang siya ng transmembrane protein or cytoskeletal protein na siyang rason kung bakit nakakapag-deform ang isang RBC. Ngayon, kapag hindi siya makapag-deform, ang nangyayari, there is increased contact of macrophages to the spherocytes, no? So, sa madaling salita, guys, yung macrophages, pinapapak niya ng pinapapak yung spherocytes. Specifically, your splenic macrophages. Bakit niya ginagawa yun? Kasi abnormal ang itsura ni spherocytes. Di ba lahat ng RBC na abnormal ang itsura, ang gagawin ni splenic macrophages, ipipit niya yon, pitting. No? Ngayon, habang kinakain ni splenic macrophages si spherocytes, dalawa lang ang pupuntahan yan. It's either malize na mismo yung mismong spherocytes, or pwedeng yung mismong spherocytes mag-transform into microspherocyte. Okay? Nare-recall pa ba? O, dapat nare-recall pa. Okay. Of course, it has increased MCHC since it is considered as hyperchromic. Okay? What is hyperchromic? There is no presence of central pallor, no? I believe nare-recall pa yan, no? Konting recall na lang tayo dito, guys. Positive autohemolysis test, no? Syempre, kasi nga, ang isang spherocyte, hindi naman yan nagtatagal sa hypotonic solution. O, isa pa nga, konting recall pa. Ano ang properties ni spherocyte sa hypotonic solution? Increased fragility or decreased fragility, no? Ano kayang properties ni spherocytes? Increased fragility. Madaling sumabog in hypotonic solution. Kaya nga sa OFT nyo, it has increased OFT, no? Sir, anong ibig sabihin ng increased OFT? Increased osmotic fragility. Fragile. Okay? Okay. Now, isa pa sa mga crucial if you want to diagnose hereditary spherocytosis is yung resulta niya with that. Remember, since it is hemolytic anemia, negative talaga yan sa DAT. O, recall ulit tayo. Sino ba yung mga nagpa-positive sa DAT? Si autoimmune disease, 'di ba? O ano nga ulit sakit 'yon? Yung ginamit nating pang-differentiate with hereditary spherocytosis. Kasi ang sabi natin, no? Pareho ka daw makakita ng spherocyte in hereditary spherocytosis and WAIHA. Diba WAIHA yung ginamit natin? Now, how do you differentiate them? Mag-base ka sa DAT. Sino ang DAT positive? Si WAIHA. Sino ang DAT negative? Si hereditary spherocytosis. Okay? Okay. Now, what's the screening test for hereditary spherocytosis? Ang pinakakilala would be your OFT. Okay? And what's the confirmatory test? O, konting recall lang tayo ha. Ano yung confirmatory test, guys? That would be your EMA binding test. Paano malalaman na positive for EMA binding test? Kapag may decreased fluorescence, mababa or sobrang konti yung ilaw na pinroduce. No? O, what's the principle of EMA binding test, guys? Flow cytometry. O, nire-recall ko na lang kayo, guys, ha? Kasi by this time, dapat alam nyo na to. Kasi naturo na natin to ng RBC abnormalities. 'Di ba? O, ayan. Kopya muna, guys. Ayan, o, yung autohemolysis test na yan, di ba? Naturo na natin yan. This hereditary elliptocytosis, and this is hereditary pyropoikilocytosis. This hereditary ovalocytosis. Guys, tandaan nyo for hereditary ovalocytosis, that's a mutation in BAN3 gene, no? And yung mga taong may hereditary ovalocytosis, guys, they have resistance to certain parasites na nagkakos ng malaria. Hindi lahat ng Plasmodium, guys, no? Mangilan-ngilan lang sa kanila. Guys, iba ang hereditary ovalocytosis sa macroovalocytes na nakikita in megaloblastic anemia. Kapag hereditary ovalocytosis, dahil yan sa gene mutation, kaya ka nakakakita ng mga ovalocytes, ha? Kapag megaloblastic anemia, dahil yon sa impaired DNA metabolism. Kaya ka nakakita ng mga macro naman to, guys, sa macro ovalocytes. Okay? Okay. Oh, we also have your stomatocytes, no? O sige, recall ulit tayo, no? Sagutin nyo nga yung tanong ko. Sino ang pinaka-common na hereditary stomatocytosis? Si overhydrated ba? Tama ba ako? Hindi, guys. Ano? Ang most common type of hereditary stomatocytosis would be your hereditary serocytosis, di ba? Sino si serocytosis? O, sino siya? Si dehydrated form. Ito kasi si overhydrated form to eh. 'Di ba? 'Di ba kasi in overhydrated form, ang mga RBC nagsi-shrink or pumuputok. Pumuputok, guys, no? Kasi nga overhydrated, na sobrahan sa tubig. Okay? Okay. And we also have your hereditary serocytosis, kung saan ang mga RBC nyo lumiliit. However, kahit lumiit yung RBC na yan, eventually puputok din yan. The most common type of hereditary stomatocytosis. Yung movement, di ba, na-discuss na natin during RBC abnormalities. Okay. Kaya konting recall na lang tayo. Sige nga, i-recall natin yung movement ng mga cations in hereditary serocytosis. Sabi nila, ang mga RBC dito, lumiliit daw. Ngayon, bakit lumiliit si RBC? Kasi imagine niyo, guys, ha, ang isang RBC na may slit-like central pallor, lumalabas si sodium. Kapag lumabas si sodium, lalabas din si tubig. However, as a consequences, dapat pumasok si potassium. Kapag nangyari yon, lumabas si sodium, lumabas si tubig, yung mismong RBC mag-shrink. And the shrinkage of this RBC may lead to RBC lysis, no? Kaya nga, kapag nag-lyse ang RBC, isa siyang type ng hemolytic anemia. O hemolytic anemia, ano ulit ang reticulocyte count kapag hemolytic anemia? Di mataas. Okay? Okay. Ayan, no? Pwede kang makakita ng crenated RBC. When you say crenated, mga lumiit na RBC. Ayan, no? May reticulocytosis. Merong paninilaw, no? Dahil yan sa excessive accumulation of vitamin B1. Vitamin B1, sorry, hindi vitamin B1, no? Excessive accumulation of B1. Ano yung B1? Insoluble bilirubin. By this time, no? Alam ko, nakakasabay na kayo. Anong resulta sa OFT? Actually, guys, ang resulta nito sa OFT, dapat increase fragility. Madaling sumabog ang stomatocyte sa OFT. Tandaan nyo yan, ha? Madaling sumabog ang stomatocyte sa OFT. Kasi already open na eh. Meron ng bunganga yung mismong RBC. Eh di yun at yun lang yung papasukan ng tubig. Sasabog agad, no? Yung mga RBC. Increase fragility to OFT, stomatocyte. Diba? Diba dalawa lang ang in-associate natin na common? Stomatocyte and spirocyte. Okay. Now, we also have other conditions associated with stomatocytosis, no? You also have your familial pseudohyperkalemia. Ang nasabi natin last time for familial pseudohyperkalemia, nangyayari yung pag-leak ng potassium kapag nasa room temperature yung pinaka-specimen. Okay? So, basically, nangyayari na yung leakage in vitro or outside the body of the patient. For cryohydrocytosis, nangyayari siya sa malamig na temperatura. Tandaan nyo, ha, both the sodium and potassium yung nagli-leak out sa mismong RBC. That's why there is hemolysis whenever the specimen is stored at cold temperature. Okay? Okay. And of course, ang pinaka-ina-associate natin with the presence of stomatocytes would be RH null disease. No? Wherein you have an absence of RH antigen. Okay. You also have your hereditary acanthocytosis. O nare-recall pa ba si hereditary acanthocytosis? Siyempre, ano ulit yung dalawang sakit na in-associate natin with the presence of acanthocytes? Beta lipoproteinemia. And ano pa yung isa? Macleoid syndrome. Guys, binibilisan ko na lang, ha, para hindi makain yung oras nyo. Kasi sa Tuesday, exam na po. Okay? O anong problema in acanthocytes? Cholesterol imbalances. 'Di ba? Sabi natin, lahat ng dahilan kung bakit kumukonte ang lipids sa RBC membrane may produce acanthocytes. Oh, what is the appearance of acanthocytes, guys? No? Konting recall lang. There is long spicules within the RBC membrane or yung mismong RBC membrane, guys, humaba, no? Which is unevenly distributed. Kalat-kalat, guys. Ngayon, bakit siya kalat-kalat? Wala ngang lipids eh. Diba? Lipids ang nag-i-stabilize ng RBC membrane. Without the lipids, hindi i-stabilize ang RBC membrane. Kaya nga, nagkaroon ka ng acanthocytes. Ganito itsura ng acanthocytes, guys. Oh, diba? Okay? Okay. Eto guys, alam ko hindi natin to na-discuss, no? So, i-discuss natin si paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria. Sir, bakit nasa PowerPoint natin yan? Kasi isa po siyang klase ng hemoglobinuria. Hemolytic anemia. Wherein, ang problema din is the RBC membrane. Okay? Now, to give you an idea, the problem with paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria is that there is an absence of CD55 and CD59. No? O, diretsuhin ko na kayo. Si CD55 and CD59, siya yung pagkakakilanlan ng RBC. No? Sa madaling salita, identity siya ni RBC. Ibig sabihin, kaya hindi inaatake ni complement ang isang RBC kasi nakikita niya na yung RBC na yon may CD55 and CD59. However, in the absence of CD55 and CD59, ang mangyayari is that yung complement aatakihin yung RBC. Okay? And with the help of antibodies, yung mismong RBC guys, maglalays. Paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria. You have increased sensitivity to complement. Okay? Okay. Now, to diagnose paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, no, nasa kabilang slide ata guys. Anyway, these are the common clinical findings. There is thrombosis. Bakit? Dahil sa excessive lysing guys, na-activate ang mga platelets. Excessive lysis of RBC may lead to activation of platelets. Okay? O yan, meron pang hemoglobinuria and paninilaw. Okay, screening test, you may use sucrose hemolysis test or sugar water screening test. Now, to confirm, syempre, ang confirmatory test natin is flow cytometry. Anong gagawin in flow cytometry? Hanapin kung si pasyente may CD55 and CD59. Kasi kung walang mahanap, you can confirm na si patient may have paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria. Okay? Okay. So, this is the part 1 guys, no? And then upload ko later yung part 2.